Hello, everybody. What's going on? I know that this is not the kind of video that I normally make if you've read the title, but if you'll direct your attention approximately to the middle of the screen right now, you'll see that on Steam I have 100 perfect games. I've highlighted it with my mouse in case you couldn't see what I was talking about. And what that means is that on Steam I have 100 games where I have all the achievements. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why do I care? Well, you might not, but I'm still gonna make a video out of it because this is like a pretty big occasion. So I think now would be a pretty good time to say that you're probably thinking, well, Earl, my good friend Earl, how do you have 100 perfect games on Steam, let alone 100 games at all? And better yet, how do you have 413 games on Steam? That seems a little excessive. Well, that may be true. A lot of those are, well, first of all, I've never played a lot of them because a lot of my games on Steam I got from bundles, like from Humble Bundle and, you know, whatever those other sites are called. Fanatical is one, I think. And basically, those sites sell like large amounts of games for very cheap. Like earlier this year, the Humble did that like Ukraine bundle that was like 80 games for $40, and like that's a very good deal. So obviously for like 413 games, that seems like that must cost you a fortune. Well, just for instance, 80 of those games only cost $40 all put together, so it's not like I've taken out a second mortgage for this. Uh, there's that one site online that like tells you how much your Steam account's worth, but if you do that for mine, it would say like thousands of dollars, even though that's not true because that site just takes like the retail value for each game and doesn't account for anything like bundles or anything. And along that track of the bundles, what you may notice, because I haven't really said what I'm doing, but in this video I'm going to go through each game and say something about them and kind of just walk you through my path to 100 perfect games. And some of them I'll talk for longer than others, but a lot of them you'll probably be like, I've never heard of that game in my entire life, which is partially due to the fact that I probably got it from a bundle at some point and just played it because it seemed like it was quick and like at least kind of fun. So, yeah, here's a highlight of some of the games you're going to see soon. This is my showcase of the ones I'm most proud of, but I'll go through, talk about all of them. Also, my achievement showcase, I spelled out hello with Wadham achievements. Speaking of Wadham, that'll be one you're going to want to stick around for when I talk about Wadham, which will probably be a little more than halfway through this video. Once I talk about that one's pretty notable, but you'll have to stick around to find out why. But yeah, 100 perfect games. Here are my rarest achievements. These two are just because that game doesn't, the achievements don't work anymore. These two, I don't know why they're rare. They were kind of hard, but not like crazy hard. And this one is very hard. I'll talk about that later. And this one, I don't even remember what it is. It's from Fallout 4 VR. I don't even know what that is. Well, I mean, I know what the game is, but I don't know what this achievement is in particular. I am level 47 on Steam. Uh, that's just from crafting shit. And yeah, so I'm going to start going through them now. So I'm now on my A Stats profile, which is a website where it lets you see like your achievements and stuff for games, and it's going to be a little more easy for me to go through it on here compared to on the Steam website. So this is where I'm going to be going through it. So I'm just gonna start. This is the date that I achieved or got 100% on each one. I'm gonna be using the phrase platinum to describe getting all the achievements in a game, like to say like, oh, I got the platinum for this one on this date. Even though I know that's technically the PlayStation terminology, it's just a lot easier to say than, well, this is when I got 100% of the trophies, so or 100% of the achievements. So I'm just gonna say platinum for a lot of this because that's kind of the generally accepted term. So basically, I'm gonna go through each game on here. There are 100, so this video is going to be pretty long, I think, but some of them I'm just going to talk about for a few seconds. Some of them are totally not notable. Some of them I'll talk about for a lot longer. So, starting in, obviously this date goes year, month, day. So, my first ever platinum was on June 7th, 2015, which was 7 years ago. Almost exactly 7 years ago. 7 years and a few weeks ago. And my very first platinum was Jazz Punk, which is I'm sure you guys have probably heard of it. It was popular back then. This column shows hours played, which will be important down the line. Not important, but just for reference on how long each of these took me. So yeah, my first one was Jazz Punk. You've probably heard of it. It was popular back then in 2015. Not, I mean, it's a short game. As you can see, I only played 4 hours, and I think that was actually two playthroughs because the first time I did it, it was super easy, and or not super easy. Of course, it's super easy, but it was short. And then I saw like, oh, the achievements are easy, so I'll just go through it a second time. And obviously, what you'll learn from getting through these is that it wasn't really until 2020 that I started actually like going after platinums. And before then, a lot of them I just happened to stumble on either because I was like, oh, these achievements will be easy to get, or it was just a game that I liked. So that's something to note going forward, is that that's why there's such a big gap between these, right? Because the next one wasn't for another 2 years almost, a year and 10 months, which is a long time, and that was Job Simulator. That's a VR game I'm sure you've heard of. It was probably the biggest. I keep right clicking. Sorry about that. The biggest VR game of that was out there around the time that the Vive became released or became popular. I'm not really sure when the Vive was released, but when the Vive was really popular, a lot of YouTubers were doing Job Simulator. I think it came packaged with the Vive for a while. So this was, a VR game that I played a lot when I first got VR, and so that's why I have 30 hour or 33 hours in it. Not because it's super long or anything, but just because I played it a lot on my own because it was like kind of my introduction to VR. Uh, so obviously it doesn't take 33 hours to get the platinum for this one. I'd say probably 10 or less would be more realistic. I'd say even 5 would be realistic to get the platinum for this one. It's just that I played this game a whole lot because it was my first introduction to VR. And they didn't add achievements until probably around the time I got the platinum. So even though I'd probably played it for 20 plus hours by the time they even released the achievements, which sort of is responsible for why that number is so high. So the next platinum is Duck Season, another VR game. It's about a year later from the last one. As you can see, these are very spaced out. Uh, just these first three, it's a 2 year gap and then another 1 year gap. Duck Season is another VR game. It's basically it's basically Duck Hunt, the old NES game, but it's like scary. There's a dog that tries to kill you. Well, not like a dog, but like a dude dressed up like a dog who tries to kill you. I'm sure you've heard of it. I actually made a video of it years ago, probably around this time actually, or maybe I'd say 2018, but it was probably more like August, uh, or even I think it was probably October 2018 is when I made that video. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I'm sure you've heard of it. But yeah, the next one I got was Scribblenauts Unlimited, it's Scribblenauts. I mean, I'm sure anyone who grew up in the early 2000s, I'm sure played Scribblenauts at some time. It was a DS game, I think is how it started, and basically you just write stuff and it comes true. And then the next one, which was the next day, was also Scribblenauts. Well, it might have actually been the same. I don't know. The next one's also Scribblenauts because I don't know. I was just like, well, I did one, I might as well do the other. I don't know. I don't know what my reasoning was. But then the next one, which as you can see is almost another year later, uh, is Just in Time Incorporated. This is probably the first one so far that I've gone through that like no one watching it, like everyone watching this has no idea what it is. It's another VR game. It's like you move in slow motion, or everything else moves in slow motion, and you move in normal speed, and you have to like do puzzles almost to like stop all hell from breaking loose. I don't know. It was pretty easy. It's only 3 hours played, as you can see. It was a pretty easy one. Uh, so as you can see, There's big gaps between these, right? It went 2 years, 1 year, 1 year, and then same day, but then another year. So obviously, it's about almost a year gap between all of them so far. And like I said, 2020 is when I really buckled down on this. Even the end of 2019, as you can see, I got these three in a pretty tight window. All right, so the next one's Rick and Morty Virtual Reality. Also a VR game, as you can probably assume by the virtual reality part. It's kind of hard to describe this one. It's kind of like Job Simulator, but you're Rick and Morty instead. I will make note, though, that earlier when I was going through my rarest achievements, this fully charged achievement was on my list of the rarest achievements I have. This achievement right here may be in the running for the hardest achievement I've gotten at any point through this entire thing. This definitely wasn't the hardest game to get all the achievements for, but because they were all really easy except this specific one, you had to. It's like a bop it mini game basically. Only it like got freakishly fast. I'm sure you all know what bop it is. It's basically a bop it mini game, but it got like absurdly fast. It's very hard. I think it took me a number of tries, but I did end up getting it, so good on me, I guess. And as you can see, that one was still only 7 hours played, so it's not like it was that bad, but it was a lot of effort to get and a lot of tries. Next up is Life is Strange. Very popular game, very well known. I'm sure you all know about it. Not really anything I can say about that one. Next up is Kindergarten. Same thing. It was a popular game a few years ago on YouTube that a lot of people played on YouTube, and it was an easy achievement. Then we got Plants vs Zombies, which I'm sure every single person that's watching this video has played at some point on their phones, probably not on Steam, but I did play it on Steam. This was a 34-hour platinum, which was up to that point the highest, and it actually would be for a while until Lego Batman 3. Uh, this was my highest hours for a platinum, and it's actually harder than you expect. I did make a couple videos of this one actually back when I got this platinum, and the last two achievements for this, actually the last three, there's three achievements in this one that were really hard, and it was these three right here, these bottom three. I got this Better Off Dead one like super easy, and I think it was a fluke. But then these two down here were very hard. I made a video of each of them, but I failed, and then shortly later I got them off camera. But yeah, these two are also probably in the running for hardest achievements I've done, especially this one. This one was very hard. Probably, this might even be the hardest achievement I've ever gotten. I know I said that about the Rick and Morty one, but this one was even harder, I think. So next up we got I Expect You to Die. It's another VR game. It's sort of like James Bond in VR. Not really much I can say there. And then after that we got The Cave. Uh, this game I played a lot, like 10 years ago on Xbox, and then obviously in 2020 I got it on Steam and I played it on Steam, and it was kind of fun, pretty easy to get all the trophies for. And then we got Robbery Bob. It's another game that you probably know more as a mobile game than a computer game, just like Plants vs Zombies. Only 3 hours. It was an easy one. You sneak around and steal shit. There's not really much to say. Next up's Portal. Much like some of these other ones I've said, everyone watching this has played Portal, I'm sure, or at least heard of it. Probably one of the most popular games of the early 2010s, late 2000s. Probably late 2000s. Actually, I don't know when Portal's from exactly, but it's pretty old in terms of video games and Steam in general. But yeah, it was easier than you'd think to get all the achievements for Portal. If I remember right, there were some weird challenges that you had to do. I don't really remember a lot about it because that was more than 2 years ago now. But yeah, I don't remember a lot about them. Uh, there were challenges you had to do that were hard. That's about all I remember. I'd also like to make note that in the first 4 years of me being on Steam, or even more than that, I only got a total of uh, 8 platinums. And since then, which has been about 2.5 years, I've gotten the other 92. So clearly I stepped it up around 2020. If you're looking at the dates this whole time, as you can see, starting with about kindergarten, I would say that's when I really started going all out with them. Something to note is that as of starting in March 2020, which is where I got kindergarten, which is one that I already talked about, uh, from March 2020, I've gotten at least one platinum every month since then, which has been about 2 years and 3 months, which is a total of like 27 months. So each of those months I've gotten at least one. Uh, Obviously, most of those months I've gotten more than one, or else I wouldn't be at 100 now. But yeah, so I've stayed dedicated to this since March 2020. Next is Please Don't Touch Anything. It's another game that was popular on YouTube. The one after that's Papers, Please, so I can kind of talk about these ones together. These were both games that were popular on YouTube, 5 years ago, probably more, 6, 7 years ago even, and they are both pretty straightforward, simple games. Okay, so the next one is the first game that was like a real, legitimate, full-length game that I did, even though technically it's less hours than Plants vs. Zombies was. No one's going to say that Plants vs. Zombies is a more legitimate game than Arkham Asylum. Uh, Obviously, this 33 hours is one where it's not exactly accurate because obviously I've played it before 2020. It wasn't until then that I went back to get all the achievements. Honestly, I think 15 hours is probably doable to get this platinum starting from scratch. You just have to play it through once on hard and then do the challenges and find the Riddler trophies, and that's it. So this one was actually not too hard. I think I did it in a week. This was during COVID, though. I got into this when COVID started, and that made it a lot easier because I had a lot more free time. Next one, there is no game. This is there was a full release of this a few years, or maybe just last year. There was a full release of this game. This is kind of like the demo almost. I do end up doing the full game later on. It's one of the more recent ones though, so it'll be towards the end of the whole thing. But as you can see, it says I have 0 hours in this one because I think my playtime in this was literally like 16 minutes or something. Like this was a super easy one, but still counts just like the rest. Alright, the next one is Kill the Plumber, which was also popular on YouTube like 7 years ago, probably around 2015. This one's actually been delisted from Steam since then. It was actually already delisted from Steam in 2020 when I got this platinum, but I had owned it already, so I still went through and got the achievements. I don't know why it's delisted from Steam. It might be like copyright infringement on Mario or something. But this was actually one of the harder achievements to get, harder platinums to get, because there were achievements to beat to like speed run each set of levels, and this was legitimately hard because basically I think each one was about 20 levels, and most of them were pretty easy for each of these three sets. But once you get towards the end, they start getting hard, and also you basically have to get through each one on your first try, or else you're screwed and you're not going to meet the time. Like these times are actually very tight, so this was actually a very hard achievement, or a hard platinum to get, even though I only have 10 hours. Honestly, I think 8 of those hours were probably spent just trying those speed runs because they were very hard. Especially the third one, I remember being very hard. Next up is Lego Batman 3 Beyond Gotham. 63 hours is a bit of a misnomer because when I got the platinum, I think I was probably at 60 hours and I only needed like one more achievement. So I don't really know how much it spent actually doing the achievements. Like this was just a brush up one where I just went in and got like 2 achievements in a few hours and I was done with it. So I don't know how much like from start to finish it would take to platinum, but whatever. Next up is Kindergarten 2. Basically the same as Kindergarten 1, except it's the second one. Nothing really new to add there. Same with Life is Strange Before the Storm. It's basically Life is Strange, but the next one. And then Batman Arkham VR. It's basically Batman Arkham, but it's in VR. It's short and don't really not really much more to say about that either. Then we got Life is Strange 2. Again, Life is Strange again. It's basically nothing to add. Although I will say, even though this has nothing to do with the achievements, Life is Strange 2 was kind of sucked. I know that wasn't proper grammar. Life is Strange 2 wasn't great. Don't recommend it. It's basically not Life is Strange. It's basically just like a generic Telltale game, but it's like with the Life is Strange name. Yeah, it's not great. Life is Strange Before the Storm also kind of sucks. The first Life is Strange is good. This one is decent. This one sucks, and I haven't even played the new one because it seems like very bad. But I don't know because I haven't played it. Next up is Arkham Knight. This is a big one. You know, before I get to Arkham Knight, for some reason they put Arkham City all the way at the bottom with no date of completion. I don't know what's up with that. Oh, because they say this achievement doesn't work anymore because the schedule for the calendar man doesn't work anymore. Whatever. I got this platinum. Probably, if I had to guess, I would say it was definitely before Arkham VR. It was probably before this one even. I'd say it was probably between Kill the Plumber and Lego Batman 3. I know I'm long past that now, but I do want to point out Arkham City. I don't. It's they're not putting it in the right place. It was I have 90 something hours. 90. I don't know if that's the amount of hours I actually have, but it's actually around that area. I have 90 something hours in this. Uh, I started with about 20 before I started the platinum. This was one of the longest platinums I've done because of all the challenges, but this was also one of the most fun platinums I did. I think these are great games, except Origins. Arkham Origins kind of sucks, but Arkham City was very good. If I had to say, this might be my favorite that I did to get the platinum on. It was great. Even though it was hard and kind of grindy at points, it was fun. So that's as much as I have to say about that one. But yeah. So then going back to Arkham Knight, which would be the next one on the list, even though I skipped Arkham City earlier, but went back to it. Basically the same deal as Arkham City. Not as much fun, but still fine. It's actually more reminiscent of Arkham City than Arkham Asylum is, but I don't know. I'd say Arkham Knight's probably my third favorite out of those three, and then Arkham Origins sucks. But yeah. Next we got both Middle Earth games coming in at 46 and 57 hours respectively, which is more than 100 hours total. So this was a legitimate, time commitment here. And as I said about the monthly thing, as you can see, this Shadow of War was my only game I platinumed in August of 2020, and it was on the 1st of August. So obviously, I wasn't like setting the place on fire every month, metaphorically. I don't even know if that's a phrase, but you guys get what I'm saying here. These games are fun. They are very reminiscent of the Arkham games. The combat, at least, is basically the same. This is like free flow combat or whatever it's called. It's the same as like the Spider-Man PS4 game. So it's the same combat as the Arkham games, only it's it's there's orcs and shit. It's not. I mean, it's not the same as Batman at all, except the combat. Next up, we got Vacation Simulator. It's basically Job Simulator, but it's vacation. It's also VR. Then after that, we got Saints Row the Third. This one has a missing achievement too. So I don't know why they put Arkham City at the bottom, because this one also has an achievement that is unattainable now. Which technically I cheated. One of the achievements in this one was to upload a character online, which you can't even do anymore. So I did have to download a mod for this one to let you install a character, or to let you upload a character online, which isn't cheating. It's just allowing me to get an achievement that was broken. So that's not cheating at all. This one was 83 hours, although I did play through it. I've played it a lot in general, even more since I platinumed it probably, so I don't know how much of this was actually spent getting the platinum. Next up, we got the Henry Stickmin collection. It's basically, I don't even know how to explain this one. Next up, we got What Remains of Edith Finch. It's only 2 hours. This is a very short one, and it's, I don't even really know how to describe this one, to be honest, either. It is a good game. It's short, like I said. The one part with the fish, where you're cutting the fish heads, that's a very good scene from a game. If you've played it, you know exactly what I'm talking about, probably. And it's good. It's a good story. It's good immersion. You feel like you're in the game. Uh, the one complaint I had that I've never heard anyone else say, but one complaint that I had when I was playing through it is the part on the swing where the kid gets launched off the swing. Well, you are the kid and you go flying off the swing like a freaking missile. That was a little immersion breaking, because I know it's supposed to be like, oh, the kid died because he launched off the swing off a cliff. It's kind of stupid. I mean, it's supposed to be like I don't care how small the kid is, as long as it's not a freaking baby. Why did he go launching off the swing like a projectile? It's kind of dumb. I don't care how fast you're swinging on the swing, you're not going to launch off a cliff. That's my only complaint about that one. Next up is Accounting Plus. It's another VR game from the Rick and Morty creators. It's pretty short, and there's also a weird scary part where there's like a spider monster. That was kind of weird. I'll put a picture or a video of that up on the screen too. But that was a little frightening. I've probably had nightmares about that. Not that I remember, but I'm sure I have. Uh, yeah, it was terrifying. I don't. It was weird and out of place in the thing. There's also a weird like demon summoning thing. That game really went off the rails, by the way. But I guess that's the idea. Next up is A Way Out. Probably the best co-op game I've ever played. You play with another person, another real person, and one of you controls each character. Very good. I highly recommend it. I can't really recommend it anymore. It's co-op. It's great. No complaints from me at all. Next up is Go Home, and if I describe Go Home, I basically say it's the same as What Remains of Edith Finch, except it's boring and not as immersive. Uh, the graphics are worse and it's less advanced, and also the story is like a couple notches down. No spoilers. Well, can I spoil these? I don't know. If you don't want me to spoil What Remains of Edith Finch and or Gone Home, skip forward like 20 seconds right now. I'm giving you a time to skip forward right now. Skip forward maybe, I'd say skip forward 30 seconds from right now. Alright, if you're still here and you don't care if I spoil these are kind of similar as far as gameplay and the fact that they're supposed to be story centered. Except What Remains of Edith Finch is like a legitimate story about like a whole family dying, and it's like serious and like they all die in crazy ways, but like it's kind of morbid. And Gone Home is just about lesbians. Like that's it. So it's a little less immersive and like uh, provoking of a story. And if you're joining me from skipping forward from me spoiling those games, I didn't. It's not really much of a spoiler, and you're probably not going to play those games if you haven't yet. Next up is Oxenfree. This one I do need to talk about for a little more than the rest, even though I have been speeding up a little because this is taking forever. Not even halfway, by the way. I'm not even close to 50 yet. This is probably about number 40, so still a long ways to go. But yeah, Oxenfree. It's not a bad game at all. It's really not a bad game. I can't say it's a bad game, but the achievements make you play through it multiple times with very little variation. Not to mention that Oxenfree has very little input from the player in the first place. A lot of it is just you walking and picking choices that don't matter through a pre-made story. So basically, you're already hardly playing. So to ask me to play that like 5 times to get all the achievements was kind of boring and annoying. I know I only have 14 hours, but I think each playthrough was probably 3 to 4 hours, and they had you play it 4 times or so. So you can see why it's kind of annoying and tedious when you're doing basically the same exact game 4 times over with very little deviation, and most of the time you're not even inputting anything into the game, you're just watching it play out. So that was definitely one where I was multitasking while I was doing that one. Next up is Octodad, Daddliest Catch. This was very popular on YouTube, maybe probably like almost like 10 years ago, probably at this point. I'm sure you've heard of it. If you haven't, you can look it up. Next up is Budget Cuts. It's another VR game. I actually completed this one a while before this date, but then they added one more achievement, so I had to go back and get that one. It's a very good VR game. I have played the sequel. It's not nearly as good, and it's also basically impossible to platinum. Like the achievements are really hard, so I'm not going to do that. But I mean, the first one's a very good VR game. I definitely recommend it. The second one's not great. The soundtrack in both of them are very good. Like the credit songs for both of them. If you've played Budget Cuts, the one thing that you probably remember from that game is the song from the end on the train. Next up is Superliminal. It's a first-person game where like everything has to do with like optical illusions and like messing with perspective. I'd recommend it. It's very hard to explain this one, and if you've played it, you probably know why, because it's basically just messing with your brain the whole time. And yeah, that's about it. All I can say about that one, because you can't really explain it. Firewatch, that was a popular one a while ago. Honestly, I don't even remember the story. Oh, I do remember the story, but I don't really know if I want to spoil this one either, so I won't. I won't spoil this one, but it's kind of anticlimactic if I remember correctly. There's one like there's like a dead character at the end that I'm not gonna give you any more to go off of than that, and I think it's supposed to be like a dun 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 moment, or like a like a really somber moment, but it's kind of just like whatever, dude. I've been playing as a forest ranger for the last 4 hours. I don't really give a shit. Next up is the Pedestrian. This one just sucks. It's a puzzle game, but it's like all the puzzles are the same, and it kind of sucks. I can't really. I mean, no disrespect, but it's kind of boring. Next up is the Invisible Hours. Very very good VR game. Probably, if I had to say, if someone approached me on the street and said, "Hey Earl, what's your favorite VR game?" I'd probably say, "How do you know me? How do you know who I am?" But then the second thing I'd say, if they gave me a reasonable explanation to my first thing, I would probably say the Invisible Hours. It's pretty much a totally new take on VR. I've heard that since I played this, they released a version where you don't need VR and you can do it mouse and keyboard. But honestly, I think that like totally breaks the immersion of the game. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that you're there in person. You're not actually controlling a character. You're basically just watching the same scene play out over and over, but it's in a whole house, and you can be in different areas and see it from different perspectives. And I actually think it's very good and it's very creative. And I wish they would make another game that's this kind of the same idea, same concept, but with a different story. And the next one is Groundhog Day, Like Father, Like Son. This one's also a VR game made by the same people as the Invisible Hours, but it's not the same concept. It's not the same gameplay. It's still good. No complaints from me, but it's more just like your traditional VR game as opposed to the Invisible Hours, which is, groundbreaking. Next up, we got the 3 We Were Here games. There's actually a 4th one that just came out like last week, but I haven't played it yet. I probably will eventually. These are all pretty fun games. They're all co-op, much like Way Out was. These are not nearly as good as a Way Out, but they are. They're all pretty short, and they make you think. They're puzzles. They're fine. I mean, no complaints. They're pretty good. Next up, we got Wadham, and if you were watching earlier at the beginning of the video, which I'd imagine you were, the part where I went through my achievement profile, I can go there. Nope, that's not right. I can go back there right now. Actually, as you can see, I spelled hello with achievements from Wadham because they were letters. If you were questioning why I was talking about that the way I did at the beginning, it's because this game is awful. All right, Wadham is one of the worst games I've ever played, maybe in my entire life. I know it's only 6 hours that I spent in it, but to be frank, it feels like I spent 6 days playing this stupid freaking game. Uh, you're controlling weird like inanimate objects with stupid faces on them, but it's like, which is like all fine and dandy, but it's like whoever made it like has like it feels like you're trying to control a toddler when you're playing this stupid game. It's like everyone moves wherever they want, no one will listen to you. Everything's so annoying. You can only control one character at a time, and as soon as you switch to one character, all the other ones move to places you don't want them to be. It makes no sense. It's so bad. It is so bad. I cannot recommend this game at all. I only stuck through it because I wanted to get all the achievements. Honestly, I don't know why I even did this one. I considered quitting it a number of times, but yeah, there's a couple of achievements that just make no sense, and I can only imagine were not play tested when they made the game. One of them, you have to paint all the stupid face monsters gold, which is like, that's fine, but I think it involved pooping them out or something, which was weird because there was a toilet character that you had to swallow them. I don't really know for sure, but I feel like that had to do with turning them gold, which I don't even, if that gives you any indication of how this game went. But anyways, the only problem with that was that there was one snowman character who just mysteriously vanishes sometimes when you're playing the freaking game, and it's not intended. It's like he's gone sometimes. So Google told me that a little too late, I think, because I ended up having to go back and replaying that. But Google will say like, oh yeah, well, just paint him gold as soon as you get him because he might just disappear off the face of the earth in a couple minutes. So then you're screwed. And some people said you have to have everyone gold at the same time, and some people said you can turn them gold at different times as long as everyone was gold at some point. So, if I recall correctly, what I ended up doing was going back through the game from the start after I painted everyone gold on my main save, and then just turning the snowman gold once I unlocked him, and I think that worked. I don't remember if that's what I did, but I feel like that's what I did. There was another achievement where you had to get like a bunch of different sushi characters on a freaking spinning thing in the air, and that was a nightmare too, because as soon as you put one sushi guy on the thing, you switch to another sushi guy to get him to get up there, and the first sushi guy had like jumped off and like was 12 miles away by the time you got the second guy up there, and you had to do that 6 times with none of them leaving, and then you had to control the freaking spinning thing, and sometimes you would just spin and launch them all off, and it wouldn't even give you the achievement. Who made that? I don't even know. Did no one try it or what? I don't know. But yeah, Wadham sucks. Don't play Wadham. It sucks. I don't know why I played it. It's scary. It's not scary, but like it's scary. Like the characters are kind of scary just to look at. I'll put it up on the screen. They're scary. Next up is It Takes Two. Contrary to Wadham, It Takes Two is very good. I definitely recommend this one. It's basically a way out, but a little worse, but it's still very good. It's another co-op game made by the same people as A Way Out. A Way Out and It Takes Two are probably the best two co-op games ever. They're very, they're centered around being co-op, and it's very, rewarding to play. Next up is Hitman 2, which is 85 hours, which I believe is the most hours I have in any of these that were actually spent getting the platinum, because I started from zero with this one. And basically the reason it's so long is because this is basically Hitman 1 and Hitman 2 in one game, and that's why it takes so long. They do Hitman games so weird on Steam, but it's like Hitman 1 is just Hitman 1, but then Hitman 2 is Hitman 2 and Hitman 1, and then Hitman 3 is Hitman 3, 2, and 1. So I didn't play Hitman 3, but basically in order to get this platinum, I had to get all the achievements for Hitman 1 also, which is weird and doesn't make sense. Next up is Heavy Rain, and I distinctly can recall that this was number 50, which means we're halfway, and we still got a long freaking way to go. So might have to start cutting some of these out, or at least talking very fast. But it's basically like a Telltale game, only your choices actually matter, which is good. Which is ironically followed up by The Walking Dead, which is a Telltale game, and your choices don't matter because you basically end up in the same spot no matter what. And then we got SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. I don't know why I read the whole title for that, but it's it was big when it came out. I'm sure you guys have heard of it. Next up is Little Hope. It's made by the same people as Until Dawn and The Quarry, which just came out recently. It's fine. It's good. I mean, the game's good. Don't get me wrong, but this was another one like auction free where I had to replay it a few times to get the platinum. It wasn't as annoying as auction free though, because this actually your choices do matter, and you get to see a lot of different content by playing this multiple times. So I didn't really mind that one. Next up, we got Murdered Soul Suspect. This is another one of those ones where everyone's like, "What is that? I've never heard of that in my entire life." You're a ghost. You were killed. Spoilers for Murdered Soul Suspect coming up. If you want to skip, go ahead, but I know you're never going to play this, so what do you care if you get spoiled, right? Basically, you're killed by a cop who is actually possessed by a little girl So the whole time you're hunting for the killer, but the killer's actually like a bunch of different people, and you were one of the killers before you died. She possessed you and killed someone, and then she possessed someone else to kill you because you were used to kill one of the other people. If what I just said makes no sense, that's about how it feels to play the game. It's a lot of like build up for the payoff to be like, this makes no sense. Next up is The Wolf Among Us. It's another Telltale game, much like The Walking Dead, where your choice is me and Jack freaking Squat. And then after that, we got Skyrim, which is probably second to Arkham City in my favorites to platinum. Actually, I'd say maybe this and Arkham City are like a tie for my favorite. This was a lot of fun to play. It's a lot of fun to get the platinum for. Skyrim has basically endless content, so you can get the platinum and still not have seen everything, but it was very fun. I'm sure you've all heard of Skyrim or played it or whatever. Next up is Emily is Away. This is basically like a tech demo or like a this is an indie game where you just like make stupid choices. That kind of sucks. Whatever. Next up is Her Story. Uh, don't really know. This one you watch real videos of like a woman, like a real person, like not a computer graphic, and she has an evil twin or something. Sorry, spoilers. I should have said spoilers for that one. Sorry, I just spoiled Her Story for all of you because I know you were all going to go straight and play Her Story as soon as you finish watching this video. Um, she has a twin, and one of them is evil. One of them killed someone. I don't really remember. All I remember is that the twist is that there's two of them, and you're watching different ones at different times. But that's all I remember. One of them's evil, I think. All right, next. I don't know why there's a weird black box here that's covering up one. Like, it's going straight from this one to this one. It's not like there's one missing here. I don't know what's going on. For some reason, there's a gap here. I can't explain that, but whatever. Next up, we got the Almost Gone, which is what is this? Oh, there's like boxes that you spin. It's a puzzle game where you spin boxes, and it's like a house and a hospital, and it's like I don't remember the story or anything. Actually, this was probably the most forgettable game on this list. I don't even remember half of it. Next up is Dishonored 2. It's another real game, and I say that because a lot of these are basically stupid. Good game. I'm sure a lot of you've probably played it. There's a stealth aspect. 30 hours is actually pretty fast. I would have thought it would have been longer than that, but I guess not. But it was fun. Next one was Quantum Break. So it's another real game, I guess, but it was only 12 hours for the platinum because I think it was only one playthrough, and as long as you're finding all the collectibles and stuff, you're fine. So I just used a guide. You go back in time. Iceman is the main guy. Iceman from X-Men, and the main bad guy is the guy from the plane the guy in the plane with Bane in the beginning of Dark Knight Rises. He's also in a bunch of other movies, but that's just the first thing I think of when I think of him. Next up is Detroit Become Human, which is so it's made by the same people as Heavy Rain, although it's definitely worse. It's not as good. Except the biggest thing here is that I feel like I play this game pretty controversially because I took a very anti-robot stance when I played this one. Even though you're supposed to be like pro-robot, it's like, but they're robots, so like I didn't really feel bad for them. But I guess that's probably like, I might be frowned upon. People might not like me for making that choice, but whatever. Also, I had to play it multiple times to get all the achievements, so it's technically like I picked every choice. I did a pro-robot playthrough, so that is what it is. Next up is Fallout 4. Definitely a real game. I think I technically cheated for one of the achievements in this one, but it was a situation where like something wasn't working. Oh, no, that was Skyrim. I cheated for an achievement in Skyrim technically because there's a certain item you need to get an achievement, and I didn't realize that, so I like sold the item. So technically I cheated to get that item back so that I could get the achievement for it, which isn't really cheating. It's just an error on my part, and I wasn't going to replay the whole game just to get that item back. So technically I cheated in Skyrim, but I didn't cheat in Fallout. That's just what I was thinking of. Next up is Last Stop. This game really goes off the rails about 3/4 of the way through. I'm not going to spoil anything for you because I actually kind of recommend playing this one. It's not particularly good or anything. It's actually kind of boring, but there's basically 3 different stories, and one of them there's like a body swap situation. One of them you're like a secret agent and you don't know what's going on, and the other one there's like a mysterious guy who's like abducting people or something. And those are the 3 premises of the 3 stories. And then they all kind of converge, and you're like, oh, so it's going to explain everything, right? And it's like, yeah, technically it explains everything, but in such a nonsensical way that makes no sense, and it totally goes off the rails in the last like hour and a half. I kind of recommend playing it because when I played it, I was like, what the hell is going on right now? Made no sense. Wasn't great. It was just totally distracting. Next up is Operation Tango, another co-op game. I do recommend this one. You play as, one person plays as like the Oracle, so to speak, and the other person plays as like the agent, and it was pretty good. Next up is Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy. These games are pretty good. You kind of have to be into them to enjoy them, or else it's just going to be seem boring to you. But as long as you're like engaging, it's pretty fun. I know the other, like the newer Ace Attorney games are on Steam too, or at least the most new one, like the Chronicles or whatever. But I haven't played those. I think they kind of suck. But I have played the other Ace Attorney games like after these ones, like Apollo Justice and stuff. But I've played those on DS because they're not even out on Steam. So next up is Duck Season PC. I think I got this game for like a deep discount or something for like a couple bucks because it's basically Duck Season, which was one of the earlier ones I did, only it's on keyboard and mouse instead of in VR, which totally takes away a lot of the immersion of the game. But I was like cheap, and it's like whatever, it's 3 hours, I'll just do it. Next up are the two Batman Telltale games. These suck. They're boring, as are most Telltale games. They don't suck. I'm kind of being dramatic, but they're not. They do get boring because it's like, with all the Telltale games, it kind of feels like, why am I even playing this? I could be just watching a movie, basically, and it would be the same. But these are fine. I mean, they're not bad. It's basically like they're basically like 7 and 9 hour movies, because their choices matter very, very little. Next up is Brother, it's A Tale of Two Sons. This one seems like it should be co-op. It's made by the same people as A Way Out and It Takes Two, but it's not co-op. It's just you one person controlling two characters, which is weird. It's fine. It's 3 hours. It's pretty short. It's pretty straightforward. And then after that, we started a legitimate streak here, basically from the complex, which is the next one, all the way to the end almost, of games that are like super, or like we're starting to get into like lame territory where it's like this is where I started doing a lot more bundle games. So these are going to be a lot that you've never heard of in your entire life, and also ones that aren't the most fun or anything. And that's because I got a lot of these out of bundles. And as I was approaching 100 games, I was kind of like, all right, I just need to push through, and then I'm almost there. So as you can see, like in March of this year, I got like 8 platinums, and like in April, I got like another 8 or something. Uh, but we'll go through them all. The Complex is a shit. What is that called? It's one of those games where it's like real video. It's like a Telltale game basically, except you're watching a real people. It's not a graphic. It's I can't think of what those are called, but they have a name, and it's basically real people, except you're making choices. It's basically a Telltale game, only you're watching pre-recorded footage of real humans instead of computer graphics. Shape-shifting detective is the same way. These are both okay. They're not nothing groundbreaking or anything. I'd actually rather just play a Telltale game, but these ones are short, which are good because it's not freakishly like 10 hours like a Telltale game, which is like, why would I ever play that? Next is Dear Esther Landmark Edition. This basically should be called Walking Simulator. Again, this is another bundle one. I'm gonna start talking badly on some of these because I got, you know, all these games, everything from here to all the way to the bottom here, except a few exceptions, which I bought like separately. Probably like if you like prorate it, was probably like each of these games was probably like less than $1 each. So it's not like, it's kind of why some of these suck. But yeah, this one's basically walking simulator. There's a whole lot of nothing that you do. You just walk on like an island, and it's like that's it. I don't even. Is there even a story in this one? I don't remember. The Bunker is another one of those real video ones, like the Complex and the Shape-Shifting Detective. Only it's somehow even worse than those two. I mean, this one had a good twist at the end. I won't spoil it, even though no one's gonna play it. But this one had a good twist at the end. But other than that, it was kind of weak. MLB Home Run Derby VR. This is kind of just like a tech demo also, but it was kind of fun as you just get to hit home runs. It is what it is. It's straightforward, but it's fine. There is no game wrong to mention. This is the full release of that other one I was talking about way at the beginning. This was still only 4 hours. It felt like longer than that in my brain, but I guess not. And it was pretty easy actually, and it was actually kind of hard to like think of some of the solutions made no sense if I'm being honest, but like I did have to cheat on some of them to like use the guide to find some of the solutions because some of them are like I was thinking how would I ever come up with that on my own. Next up is Hexalogic, and it's another 0 hour one. It's a stupid puzzle game where you have to make stuff add up to certain numbers. I don't know. I got it out of a bundle, and I was like, this will be quick. Whatever, I'll just do it. Next up is Circles, kind of the same idea as the last one, only this one was kind of seizure-inducing a little. Although this one wasn't exactly fun. It was 4 hours, which you're like, that's probably not much. And also, well, how would it get monotonous when it's only 4 hours? Problem is, I played all of this like in 4 hours straight, which I'm sure is not how this game was intended to be made. So it was kind of, when by kind of I mean definitely like very tedious to play, just because it's like, please stop. I'm done with this game, but it's like, I'm almost done. I just keep playing. So yeah, I basically played this one 4 hours straight, and I don't advise that, but it is what it is. It's another puzzle game. Next is Post Void. It's basically Wolfenstein uh, meets some other game that doesn't exist. I guess it's like Wolfenstein graphics, but you're shooting stuff. Next up is Roar Jurassic Edition, another bundle one, obviously, because you're like, what the hell is that? Pretty much, I go on a streak of like, shit. Uh, Count. I don't know. This one didn't highlight, but I meant to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 in a row of games that's like show no one's ever heard of, and I got them out of bundles, and it's like they kind of suck. This one, Roar Jurassic Edition. If you can manage to play this one without having a seizure, that should be an achievement. There should be 7 achievements in this one, and with the 7th one is don't have a seizure while you're playing this game, and that would probably be the hardest of all the achievements in this game. You move you're controlling a freaking dinosaur, and you're killing robots or bugs or something. I don't even remember. And if you turn your mouse like, if you move your mouse like 1 centimeter to the side, your camera spins around like 7,000 times. It's like so sensitive, and if you like, oh my god, it was not great. And also, there's like 4 levels, except the first one's the only one that's hard at all, which didn't make any sense. Like the first, I think I only died once through the entire game, and it was in the first level, which didn't make sense. The first level was way harder than everything else. I can't explain that. Next up is Pixplode, another stupid puzzle game. Another stupid puzzle game where it's like 3D. I don't know. Next up is Chroma Gun, which is basically Portal, but like with colors instead of portals. That's all about I can say that one. Next one is Say No More. Uh, this one's 10 hours technically, but actually it's probably about 3 hours to get 21 of these achievements, and then the last achievement was to like basically press a button like 10,000 times. So I basically held down my space bar, turned my monitor off, and then played MLB The Show while it just went over and over. So technically, I wasn't actually playing this actively for 10 hours. I was probably playing it actively for like 3 hours, and the other 7 hours were just the button being held down. Next up, we got Evan's Remains. It's another puzzle game where you like hop around and jump on stuff. It's easy. Next up is Hidden Folks. It's basically Where's Waldo, but like bigger and more annoying. Next is Gang Beasts. That's actually a fun game. You throw your friends around and you kill them. It's fun. Next we have Bug Snacks. It's I mean, you've probably heard of this one. It was big on PS5 when the PS5 came out, and I won't spoil anything. I recommend this one. It's pretty good. Next is Road 96. Sort of. I don't even. This is another hard one to describe. There's sort of a branching storyline. Only it's like random what order you see stuff in. Like there's so many determined acts that you have to play through, but you see them in random order, which is pretty cool, I guess. And yeah. Next is this escape room one. It's super easy. And then we got Dude Stop, which is a pretty well-known one also. Then we got Walking Dead Michonne, another Telltale game that's your choices don't matter. Then we got Tacoma, which is you're on a space station. This is another half of these are all bundle ones, by the way, towards the end, where you're on a space station and everyone's dead or everyone escaped. I wasn't really paying attention to the story, and there's like it's not even a puzzles. It's more just like going from place to place. Then we got LA Noire, the VR case files. I made a video of this one like 3 videos ago. I was kind of playing up the whole vomit-inducing one because I did end up playing through it to get all the achievements. But it was a little vomit-inducing. But once I played for like an hour or so, I kind of got used to it. Next is a game called One Night Stand, and despite what the title may suggest, it's perfectly PG. There's no hanky-panky or nudity or anything. I don't know why I said hanky-panky. I don't think I've ever used that phrase before in my life. But it's a PG game. There's no nudity or anything. It's more of just like each playthrough is only 10 minutes, and you had to do it like I don't know 8 times or something, and it's just making different choices. It's no hanky-panky, I swear. Then we got Journey for Elysium. It's another VR game. This one, it's another short one. This came in a bundle, It's all right. I just played this. I mean, we're on to June 15th here, and it's currently June 18th, so that was only a few days ago. But yeah, you row a boat and you shoot a bow, and then there's a crazy monster at the end, which was totally unexpected. I almost forgot about that. The whole game is like low graphics, like pretty simple, straightforward, and then there's an end. A freaking sea monster comes out of the water. It's crazy. Can't even explain it. Then, for number 100, I don't know why Arkham City is still down here. I can just move this up so it looks like this one is the last one because it is. Because Arkham City I did years ago. And then we got the final one. You think, oh, I'm sure you did a big one for number 100, right? It's number 100. I'm sure you did some crazy game, like you got all the achievements for Payday 2 or something. Nope, it's Stories Untold, which is another one. It's like I never heard of that. Yeah, neither did I until like a minute before I played it. It's only 2 hours of gameplay. Another bundle one, and it's I don't even. It's like a text based. You're entering text, and then you're also walking, and then there's like a lab experiment gone wrong. It's like four stories that converge into one. I don't know. I know I'm not doing a good job of explaining any of these, but I am trying to talk fast since this video's up to an hour, and I'm gonna cut some of this out, and it's gonna be a pain to edit, so it's gonna be a while. So now I will be going to my Steam client or whatever this is called, and to show you some of the other stuff that I wanted to talk about. And then I also have games that I want to do soon and eventually. The eventually ones I'll probably never get to, but the soon ones I probably will get to. Except some of these, like Witcher 3, I'll probably never do that one because you have to play it on the hardest difficulty, which is impossible. Overcooked. The reason I didn't finish this one is okay. Listen, I thought this was like a game for kids. Who knew it was so hard? I couldn't even get to the end of the game because it's like at one point you're like, you need so many stars, and like I couldn't do well enough on the earlier levels. So, yeah, that's going to be about it for this video. Thanks for watching. I know it was very long, but if you stuck around this long, I do appreciate it. Trust me. But yeah, I do plan on getting more achievements for more games going forward. That's just the first 100 out of however many I end up with. Probably nothing crazy. Like, I probably won't hit 200 ever. Or maybe I'll hit 200 ever. It's not like it's not like Steam's going under anytime soon, so I have the rest of my life to get many more. So yeah, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more great content. Peace out.